Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Wednesday, May 7th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Dozens of abuse claims have been filed against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're all playing out in court.
The same, general allegations is that, church leaders either knew or should have known about the abuse and did nothing to stop it.
We talk with a reporter who's looked into these cases in just a few minutes, but first, these news headlines. President Trump says his administration will not continue to pay for California's high-speed rail. Trump cited delays and cost overruns for the decision. Earlier this year, his administration launched a review of billions of dollars given to the project by the Biden administration. The high-speed rail has faced long delays and funding shortfalls, and this funding cut only adds to the rail's challenges. Police in the city of Clovis have seized a white Tesla vehicle believed to be connected to a teenager's high-profile shooting. In late April, teenager Caleb Quick was shot outside a Clovis McDonald's. The alleged shooter was seen on video following the teen out of the restaurant before the shooting. Police later said the alleged shooter was picked up in a white Tesla just blocks from the crime scene. A $40,000 reward is being offered for information that leads to an arrest. A federal office that provides millions in assistance to Kern County farmers has been targeted for closure by the Department of Government Efficiency. The Kern County Farm Services Agency helps farmers obtain crop insurance and disaster relief. But DOGE is planning to terminate its building lease in Bakersfield come August. Rachel Nettleton leads the Kern County Farm Bureau.
We are the number one ag producer in the nation. And so it's very important for us to have these local resources for our agriculture community that already faces a lot of challenges.
Nettleton says she's working with local congressional representatives to keep the FSA in Bakersfield, either by extending its current lease or finding a new office. If it closes, Kern County growers will have to travel to offices in Visalia or Lancaster, a 2+ hour drive. College students who want to take out student loans face a mountain of uncertainty right now. The Trump administration has moved the nation's student debt portfolio to a downsized federal agency and ordered changes to the public service loan forgiveness. Aisa Control-Labanez works at the Student Borrower Protection Center. She says it's important for would-be borrowers to remember that many changes are still tentative.
The FAFSA is still available. Federal grants and federal loans are still available.
She says those loans have lower interest rates and more protections than private loans. The Kern County Community College District is mourning the loss of its former chancellor. Jim Young led the district for more than 2 decades. District officials say Young was a fierce advocate for farm worker and immigrant education during his tenure. Young himself was the child of Texas farm laborers who migrated to Arvin during the Dust Bowl. His death comes just days after the Jim Young Memorial Library was dedicated in his honor at Bakersfield College's new campus in Arvin.
From an executive order against NPR and PBS to a plan to claw back already approved funding, public media is facing multiple threats. But here at KVPR, our resolve to serve the Valley has never been stronger, and we're not going anywhere. But we're going to need your help. Support this station today and save programs like this one. Become a monthly member at kvpr.org. You can make a difference.
And now to our main story. And I first want to note that today's interview may be a sensitive one for you and for young ears. We will be discussing sexual abuse, so please exercise caution if this subject is uncomfortable for you. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is currently facing accusations of child sexual abuse, with federal lawsuits filed in California and here in the Valley. Many people may know followers of the LDS Church as Mormon, though they don't go by that term anymore. And in recent months, nearly 100 people have sued the LDS Church. Among the allegations is childhood sexual abuse by leaders at churches. Plaintiffs allege they were assaulted over the past several decades. They also say the Utah-based church did nothing to stop the abuse. Today, we're diving into those cases with Alex Riggins. He's a reporter with the San Diego Union-Tribune newspaper and covers federal courts. He went through the lawsuits, finding various examples of abuse by church leaders, including one in Sanger, a small city in Fresno County, which he'll tell us about. And Alex has some personal expertise on the LDS faith. He grew up in the church, though he no longer practices. Alex will explain this more in a moment, but he starts our conversation with the case filings that sparked his report.
So last year, in August and September, there was hundreds of, or roughly 100 lawsuits filed in state superior courts, right, in county courts. And all of the lawsuits, essentially alleged the same set of facts, which was that sexual abuse of children had happened. Of course, every case is a little bit different, but the same, general allegations is that, church leaders either knew or should have known about the abuse and did nothing to stop it. And so then in around December of last year, January of this year, attorneys for the church started getting these cases moved to federal court. And that's kind of when I became aware of them, was when these cases started getting moved to federal court. And that's where most of them have remained since they got moved there 5-6 months ago.
Several of these cases against the LDS Church were filed here in Central California, including cases alleging abuse at churches in Tulare, Kern, Fresno, San Joaquin, and Stanislaus counties. I know you looked at one of those cases. It alleges negligence by the LDS Church in Sanger. That's a bit of a smaller community in southeast of Fresno. What are the allegations there in Sanger?
Yeah, so that's actually a really interesting case. The plaintiff in that case alleges that he was abused starting when he was 7 years old. It's not exactly clear from the lawsuit who the abuser was. There are hints that it may have been someone either close to his family or even in his family, which is not kind of rare in these cases. There were cases down here in San Diego where it was, family members were the ones perpetrating this abuse. And yet the church is being sued because, there are allegations that the church knew or should have known, that either the person being abused or someone close to them went to their church leaders, told them about the abuse, and nothing was done. In this Sanger case, the allegations are that the abuse lasted several years and that many years later, the plaintiff actually confronted his abuser in front of family members. And then the abuser admitted to it and actually went to his local bishop, went to his stake president, and this went all the way up the chain to leaders in Salt Lake, in Utah, where the church is based. And the allegation here is that the perpetrator was actually asked to write a letter of apology. And then when that letter came into existence, when the victim got his hands on that letter, he actually took it to authorities. And the abuser was actually criminally charged. And the lawsuit claims that the perpetrator is still in prison, due to this incident. But again, this new lawsuit is against the church and claiming that the church should have known about this abuse or did know. In this specific case, the victim says that the church and church leaders did know about the abuse and did not act to stop it.
Michael Kearney is with the firm representing the plaintiffs. That's Slater Shulman. He says the LDS Church is different because of the influence it has over congregants' lives outside of just a Sunday church service. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure, I can. And I can talk from my own personal experience, having grown up in the LDS Church. This is not just a Sunday thing. This is not just you go to church on Sunday and then that's it. For most members, at least active members, the church is the central force in their life. You go to church on Sunday, you have a calling, which is an assignment that, you're supposed to do. And that can be anything from, being the bishop of the ward, which is like the top authority in a certain congregation, or being the stake president, which is the top authority over several congregations in a geographical area. But everyone in the church basically has a calling. And so if you and your family take this huge thing to your bishop or to your stake president, and they don't treat it with the care that it deserves, I can certainly see how that could be devastating to a good LDS family who thinks they're doing the right thing by reporting the abuse to their local leader, and then no action is taken, essentially.
Now, you got a comment from the LDS Church for your reporting. What did they have to say in response to these allegations?
Yeah, so they obviously said that child sexual abuse is horrible. They don't stand for it. They have policies against it. They have reporting policies. But they also threw in a little bit, at the end, kind of, I guess, disparaging the plaintiff's law firm a little bit, saying that most of these cases were filed by, one law firm who'd been advertising for clients. They said that they'd already found discrepancies in some of the allegations. And so they certainly said that they were taking these cases seriously, but also, sought a little bit to start, fighting back a little bit publicly that, hey, maybe these allegations are a little over the top, and maybe we're not as liable as this law firm is saying we are.
That stood out to me as well. And listeners can find comments from the LDS Church in your reporting for the San Diego Union-Tribune. In terms of next steps, Alex, where do we stand? You report this as early stages of litigation. So what's kind of next?
Yeah, so actually, I'll break a little bit of news right here. I'm actually reporting this right now, but in the last few weeks, there were motions filed in a majority of these cases stating that they wanted to stay the proceedings, basically pause the proceedings, because they've reached a settlement in principle. So it looks like most of these cases will be settled. That means that the plaintiffs will get some sort of payout. We won't know what the payout is because since the church is a private organization and not a government entity, they don't have to say what the settlement figure is. And again, the settlement is not finalized, but in many of these cases, they have filed documents saying that there's been a settlement in principle and that they want to pause the proceedings essentially to finalize that settlement. And so, what will most likely happen is there won't be a lot of public accountability. The plaintiffs will get a payment. The church and possibly insurance companies will pay out those settlements, and then these cases will go away. They'll be dismissed. No one will testify. We won't get into depositions and things like that. And so, it looks like the majority of these will be settled, within the next few months, most likely.
Alex Riggins, reporter for the San Diego Union-Tribune. Thanks for this reporting.
Thanks for having me.
And again, Alex did get a statement from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for his report. A spokesperson called the abuse of a child or any individual, quote, inexcusable. You can read the church's full statement and Alex's report on the San Diego Union-Tribune's website. It's titled Wave of Sexual Abuse Lawsuits Filed Against LDS Church in San Diego and Across California. And if you or someone you know has been affected by sexual violence and needs someone to talk to, you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673. And that is today's show. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
Planet Money helps you understand the economy. We find the people at the center of the story.
Garbage in New York, that was like a controlled substance.
We show you how money influences everything.
Tell me what you like by telling me how you spend your money.
And we dig until we get answers.
I had a bad feeling you were going to bring that up.
Planet Money finds out. All you have to do is listen. The Planet Money Podcast from NPR.